Welcome back. If it has joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television. A reminder of our top stories. Election Petition Tribunal nullifies the election of the senator representing Kogi West in the National Assembly. Dino Melaye orders fresh election to fill the senatorial seat. President Buhari says plans are on to overhaul the Nigeria police structure to tackle current security challenges as he hosts traditional rulers from the northern part of the country. Federal government to license online television and radio stations as part of wide-ranging reforms approved by President Buhari for the broadcast industry. And Amazon fires spark diplomatic tension as France and Ireland threaten to dump trade deal with South American nations unless Brazil fights the inferno. For more information on our top stories and others, please visit our websites, channelstv.com. YouTube.com/channelsweb has videos of our shows. President Muhammadu Buhari has approved wide-ranging reforms in the broadcast industry, including the licensing of online radio and television stations. The Minister of Information and Culture, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, made the comment when he received members of the Broadcasting Organizations of Nigeria in his office. The minister explained that the reforms were made to ensure that sanity is brought to the industry. He added that he would carry along members of the Broadcasting Organizations of Nigeria in the review of the Broadcasting Code.
I just want to use the opportunity to inform you that the federal government has actually already approved that a review of the broadcast code that is going to take care of many of the issues you've already raised here today. In particular, the federal government has approved that web TVs and online TVs will be licensed. So, because we must bring sanity, into this industry.
Moving on to Edo State, where Governor Godwin Obaseki has been speaking on the crisis in the State House of Assembly, and he says the problem is now over. Governor Obaseki revealed that the state's chapter of the All Progressives Congress is ready to reconcile all aggrieved members of the party. He mentioned this after receiving the report of a reconciliatory committee set up to look into all post-election matters at the party's secretariat in Benin City. Governor Obaseki, however, noted that the party will not force any of the aggrieved lawmakers elect into the State House of Assembly to come for peace talks.
It's ended, actually. We're just waiting for the members to come back to the House and get inaugurated. So I don't think there's any crisis. As long as the party gives the opportunity to reconcile, to be members of that family, as long as that opportunity exists, if it is not utilized, there's not much you can do. The onus is really on them to come and represent the people who voted for them, because if I'm sure from the reports we've seen, you see these are people who contested against them that are unhappy. So we're trying to placate those ones. So if we're placating the people whose chances you took, and then you don't even appreciate the opportunity that has been given, you can imagine the irony of life.
Linda Kingbe joins us now from the SCT with more stories on the news at 10. Hi, Linda. Great to see you.
Hello, Amarachi. Good to see you too, and welcome to Abuja. Now, more reactions have continued to trail the appointment of ministers into the cabinet of President Muhammadu Buhari, this time from prominent Nigerians. Our correspondent Kayla Megwa speaks to some of them regarding the competence of the appointees and the ripple effects of the controversies surrounding the new cabinet.
We continue the conversations around the new ministerial appointments with a visit to one of the speakers during the ministerial retreat, Professor Femi Odekunle.
Some people will think you should have put Festus Koyamo in justice, particularly in terms of fighting corruption. But then in his wisdom, he has put him in Niger Delta, along with Akpabio. Then you could say, well, maybe the president has an intention to draw in the people of Niger Delta to be closer to the center and to be closer to the government, and so is putting a politician and an activist into that region.
The president of the Nigerian Institute for Industrial Security says it is dangerous to put the Ministry of Budget and National Planning under the Ministry of Finance.
We've been talking about the fact that there are policy somersaults and there's no consistent follow-up on projects and programs and what have you. And national planning is supposed to track all this. Now they have been rather diminished.
Veteran journalist Tony Iradia says these new ministers need to communicate better with the people.
Most ministers will tell you no comment when you ask questions. If you say no comment, what do you expect me to take away from it? It means that nothing is happening. That's escapist. It's rather evasive.
I wouldn't want to believe that.
We spoke to a former pilot on his experience at the Enugu airport and his thoughts on its closure by the Minister of Aviation.
You remember when we used to fly to Enugu with no aids? You have to use radio beacons, and Enugu shouldn't be treated that way. So I believe strongly that if he had closed that airport, I'll encourage him to close Calabar, and let's just fix them once and for all.
If you are talking about roads, it's not
a communications scholar and dean, School of Postgraduate Studies from the Bayero University, Kano, calls for more cooperation between the ministries.
So one will expect one very clear vision on what they need to do in their individual ministries, of course, targeted at meeting the needs of Nigerians. Then secondly, we also expect to see cohesion and unity among the various ministers so that they will not be working at cross purposes.
The new ministers have their work cut out for them, as Nigerians watch them closely to ensure they deliver on their respective mandates. Kayla Mbagwa, Channels Television News.
The United States Department of Justice, USDJ, released a damning statement which is already causing a frenzy in the media. The American government agency published the names of an online syndicate of mostly Nigerian nationals facing fraud and money laundering charges, who defrauded no fewer than 18 corporate organizations and 14 individuals across the world of several millions of dollars. According to the USDJ, the 80-member syndicate is so skillful at scamming corporate entities and individuals of money that some of your victims were defrauded multiple times within hours. And in some cases, several members of the syndicate defrauded the same victim within a number of days. Meanwhile, the American Broadcasting News Agency posted a video a while ago showing some Nigerians indicted for internet scam being rounded up. According to the tweet, the arrest is part of a 252-count indictment that accuses 80 people in the U.S. and Nigeria of participating in a conspiracy to steal millions of dollars through fraud schemes. The FBI says the case is part of ongoing efforts to protect Americans from fraudulent online schemes and to bring to justice those who prey upon American citizens and businesses. Meanwhile, reactions are beginning to pour in over the indictment of Nigerians in various parts of the U.S. for cases of massive email fraud and money laundering. The chief executive of the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, Abike Dabiri-Erewa, believes that the actions of a few Nigerians involved in criminal activities is not and can never be what the majority of Nigerians represent, and kicked against stereotyping of Nigeria and Nigerians generally. She explains that the Commission acknowledges the fact that accusation does not mean guilt, yet it expects that all the suspects will be given fair and speedy trial. The statement asks the accused to turn themselves in to the American authorities to clear their names, without which the Nigerian government should extradite them if relevant international treaties between the two governments are invoked. To health matters. The Director General of the Nigerian Center for Disease Control, Dr. Chikwe Ihekwazu, has been speaking on why the prevention of Ebola disease goes beyond checks at the airport. He's advocating for better structures to be put in place in order to detect and prevent the spread of diseases, as he calls on Nigerians to be more conscious of preventive mechanisms. He was speaking with our correspondent Malpe Ogun Yusuf on Channels Television's program Hard Copy.
The NCA has a specific mandate around airlines, which is very important. But, you know, I know the first case of Ebola in Nigeria arrived at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport. But, you know, we shouldn't think that every case will arrive at that airport. You know, we have lots of other international airports, lots of land borders, seaports, and fundamentally, a case of Ebola who is within his initial incubation period, before he has symptoms, will be undetected at any airport. So really, it's the preparedness we're talking about is much broader than, you know, just the scanners at the airport, which everyone tends to focus on. So really, this is about prevention as much as possible. If you can do that, have the infrastructure and architect to detect what happens. And when you do, then have the people, resources that are trained and are able to respond confidently to any infectious disease. So you see, the responsibility to prevent infectious diseases is really an all-community responsibility. You know, so people look up to the NCDC a lot and say, what are you doing about a cholera outbreak or a measles outbreak? Our response always is, you know, there's only so much we can do. We all have a responsibility around prevention. You know, making sure your children are vaccinated, making sure you have clean water to drink.
When the news at 10 returns, Securities and Exchange Commission seeks exemption of value-added tax in capital market transactions. That's in business news. Plus, France tackles Brazil over the fires in the Amazon, and coming from our London bureau is around the world in 5. Join us again.